Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here in person, here in Long Beach, and also for those who are watching us live, and even those in Avalon who are watching us now remotely. I will ask the Board Secretary to take the roll to establish a quorum for the record.
Board Member Lopez,
Present.
Vice President Otto,
Here?
Board Member Benitez.
Here.
Board Member Miller,
Here.
and Board Member Nuala.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. I would ask Board Member Lopez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It lists as item 4 on our agenda, the closed session report. It will be very brief. We didn't have a closed session, so we just had it. Now we're going to go to adoption of the agenda as posted. I understand there are no proposed amendments at all, so I'd entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we need a roll call vote on that? I don't think so. Great. Okay. So I'd like to introduce the student representative from Cabrillo. That would be Tyra Malolo. Please pronounce your name for me. Very nice to see you, and I understand you've got some things to tell us about Cabrillo.
Her mic.
Testing, okay. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Baker, board members, fellow Jaguars, and LBUSD guests. My name is Kira Tepatamaloto, and I am honored to be here tonight representing Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo High School as the Associated Student Body President. I want to express my deepest gratitude for this opportunity to share some of the amazing things happening on our campus. I also want to give my special thanks to my family, who have always supported me in every aspect of my life. I truly cannot be standing here without each and every one of you today. With me tonight are my Spirit Squad captains, Lizbeth, Anne-Marie, Sophia, Elizabeth, Karen, Claudia, Kaylin, Ebony, and Galilea. We are especially grateful for the kind words you shared for our coach, Miss Tina, during this month's Employee Spotlight. Thank you so much for recognizing her for her hard work. We truly love her. Please accept this gift from us to you. Did you? I'm sorry. Yes, she's right there. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Before we discuss the past, present, and future of Cabrillo, I'd like to share a few personal details about myself with you all. I've been a student at Cabrillo for 4 years and have been actively involved in various aspects of campus life. Currently, I'm in CalJ, the Cabrillo Academy of Law and Justice. Aside from ASB president, I also serve as Pacific Islander Club president, Key Club and Healing Hearts vice president, secretary of youth at Compton Samoan Seventh-day Adventist Church, and a proud member of Female Leadership Academy. I've also been a part of the girls volleyball team for the past 4 years and has recently joined the Spirit Squad flag team, Jules. As a passionate student athlete, I've also pursued a year-long sports medicine internship with our wonderful sports medicine trainer, Kagan Kazmar. Being deeply rooted in school culture and the community, I've had the privilege of facilitating positive changes within our student body. This year, our school has made remarkable strides in fostering community, school spirit, and elevating student voices. We kicked off the year led by our new ASB director, Mr. Jacob Gonzalez, with an exciting lineup of events, such as Senior Sunrise and the welcoming freshman meet and greet tailgate, which has brought our school community closer than ever. Since then, student involvement has been on the rise. Participation in our homecoming rally, fall festival, and Spirit Week lunchtime activities has increased, and our students are proudly attending home games. From our homecoming festivities to Club Rush, our campus feels more connected than ever. We are incredibly grateful for the staff who support our vision of making this an impactful year for our students. I'd also like to highlight the strong leadership across our student organizations. Our pathways, class senates, clubs, sports teams, and programs are collaborating more, supporting each other's programs and initiatives. Students feel like they're part of something bigger, and that sense of belonging is evident every day. Our ASB team and staff are diligently working to making activities more inclusive and representative of their student body. We've introduced new event themes, expanded multilingual communication, and created spaces where students feel valued and heard. We're centering our freshmen and new students as we understand the challenging transition to high school. Thanks to our collective efforts, our students are feeling truly valued. Cabrillo students are not only taking on leadership roles, but also excelling in both classrooms and beyond. Our academic programs, pathways, and extracurriculars continue to receive recognition, and both students and staff are actively involved in maintaining this momentum. We are also thrilled to announce that Cabrillo's health/medical pathway will be reintroduced for the upcoming school year. Our students in our health club, Healing Hearts, led by Samantha Rodriguez, are eagerly collaborating with staff to shape the new pathway experience for the community. At Cabrillo, we are committed to creating a brighter future for our students and the community. This year, Cabrillo and Stevens Middle School co-hosted a community learning walk and co-facilitated professional development at the Center of Black Student Excellence. Additionally, today, students from Stevens and Washington Middle School visited us for an A through G mentorship day with our students. On Tuesday, December 9th, we invite the community to join us for our Kwanzaa celebration organized by Cabrillo High School and Stevens Middle School, held at Cabrillo from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. We are proud to be working together to support the West Side community. As the ASB president, I am proud of the culture we are building, one rooted in success, community, and the belief that Cabrillo students have the potential to achieve remarkable things when given the opportunity. While we still have more work to accomplish, the positive energy on campus is visible and students feel its impact. Thank you once again for allowing me to share the exciting developments at Cabrillo. We eagerly anticipate continuing our work and representing Long Beach Unified with pride.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Well, that's very, very impressive about Cabrillo and also about you. Do you have future plans?
Yes, I have future plans. I want to continue my studies at a university, preferably a UC, and my goal would be UCLA.
Okay. I think you've tapped into a prejudice up here that may be going on. So, and do you have anybody here that you would like to recognize that here's to supporting you?
Yes, my family to my left. Thank you. This is my mother, Kathy Tepa, and this is my father, Vincent Mawia, and these are my siblings. Thank you. And also to my right, my ASB director, Mr. Jacob Gonzalez, and my principal, Ms. Knock. And my spirit team in the back, Miss Tina and the spirit squad. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys.
Well, I think we're lucky that football season is still not on because half of the squad would still be here.
Yes.
So it's customary to have a picture taken with the board, and we would invite you and whoever else you want from your family to come up to do that.
Okay.
Oops.
Thank you
Eric.
so much.
Oh, excuse me.
Really quickly, before you come up, first off, fantastic job.
Thank you so much.
Appreciative of the fact that you pulled the Tina Turner skit that we were going to do, that we talked about. I'm glad we didn't end up doing that. No,
I'm
kidding.
so sorry. Next time.
But one of the things that you brought up that I just wanted to make sure that we highlighted is the fantastic team at Cabrillo. I mean, with Principal Knock and Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Tina, they're just doing such an excellent job.
Yes.
I'm humbled to see all the fantastic things happening at Cabrillo on social media and on the campus. So can we just give them a big round of applause? Can I just... All the great work that you guys are doing at Cabrillo is evident in a tough part of town. We're quite aware of all of the struggles that are happening on the west side. And so in spite of all of the things that are happening, you guys are absolutely the pride of the west side. And so I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted
Thank you
that.
so
Thank
much.
you again.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
Your family coming up for a picture? So we are now moving on to Agenda item number 7, recognition and acknowledgements, and
One item, just the student board member report.
we were going to do that right after
I
the.
apologize.
That's okay. Who made this agenda? So, I understand we have a vision and action video.
So today we are at the Center of Black Student Excellence at I'm going to call it a professional learning opportunity for liberatory design.
This morning, we've really taken time to look at the elements of Black student excellence. We've also taken time to look about the different levels of oppression, individual, interpersonal, and systemic, and really taking time to reflect on where our own biases may land and where we can do work at our school site to move forward and disrupt and dismantle systemic oppression.
We're here to try to figure out how to uplift our Black students, how to make a comfortable space for them to be successful, and also how to educate those folks around us into pouring into that mission. Obviously, the data shows that our Black students are in jeopardy here, and that we need to have something that will help close that gap. And when we do put things in motion for this vulnerable group, it actually lifts all groups. Like, it's going to impact all students. So I think it's a good thing. It's a win-win all the way around.
Great, thank you. And also under agenda item 7, we have our student board member, Nawala, who's going to give us a report.
Yes, thank you. So in RSVP, the Superintendent Student Advisory Board, we often have exit tickets that ask our students to share where they feel seen and where their identities are being affirmed. In our most recent meeting, several students shared feeling seen and affirmed by our district-wide heritage celebrations, highlighting very specifically our Hispanic Heritage Celebration this past month. In addition, several students also shared how staff and administration have inquired about their heritage, giving them opportunities to discuss this heritage in class. And I feel this highlights our district's focus on celebrating and highlighting identities and heritage of our students, that coming to fruition in our day-to-day as well as in our curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. It's now our time for agenda item number 8, which is public testimony on agenda items. It's now time for public comment. We want to allow members of the public to make comments without interruption in a polite and appropriate manner. Please refrain from interrupting or conducting any behavior that prevents others from participating in the meeting or that disrupts the board's ability to conduct its business.
Yes, our first speaker is Robin Chen.
Excuse me. Sorry. I saw a kid do this, thought it was smart. Until they tell us we can't have signs, right? Okay, sorry. Oh, you already started. Okay. Hello, my name is Robin Chen, and last week the Community Advisory Committee elected a new executive board, and I was elected to be chair. And so our next meeting is in 2 weeks on December 3rd at Browning High School. It'll be a town hall style meeting where we will identify challenges and co-create solutions to support students with disabilities. We're talking about what's working and what's not working. It's gonna be so much fun. The meeting isn't just about making district staff in the room feel uncomfortable. It's about listening to our community, and we need all voices in the room. So where's my camera? I'm calling all my friends back to the room. Anyone who's ever been to a CAC meeting, the 200-ish folks who signed up to be voting members recently, all the Buffum parents, anyone who receives the robocall to go to a CAC meeting, go to a CAC meeting. Join the conversation, I dare you. We'll have food, translation, childcare will be provided. And the best part is at 5 p.m. before the meeting, we gather a gaggle of special ed administrators and inclusion coaches, and we make them available to families who have specific concerns and individual needs that shouldn't be addressed in a public meeting. So go to that. Look, it's a difficult time right now for a lot of people, myself included. And I understand that it's difficult to go to a meeting. I know that it's frustrating to go to a CAC meeting and hear parents complain about the same things they've been complaining about for years. And I understand that for a variety of reasons, going to a CAC meeting can feel hopeless for parents and staff. And I've been thinking a lot about what is the legacy of CAC? Like, what have we done? What can we actually do that has lasting impact? And I think one answer is that it's a place where a parent can go when they find themselves with a newly diagnosed 4-year-old, thrust into a system with acronyms and experts and overwhelming information. It's a place where a sea of nodding heads will break your heart. It's a place where you'll get, where a stranger will give you the best parenting advice you've ever heard in your life. It's a place where you learn to communicate with another person across the room using only your eyebrows and nostrils. CAC has transformed the way that I think about disability, and it's changed the way I support and see my kid. It has changed the way I build relationships and engage with community. It's not, systemic change, but it's still a pretty awesome legacy. So I'm back because I still have a kid in this district, and the work isn't done. So let's get to work. Let's go to CAC December 3rd. I hope to see you there at 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. for the gaggle. Woo, I did it.
And that is the last speaker for items on the agenda.
Which is public testimony on items not listed on the agenda. 3-minute limits. Persons limit for 30 minutes, depending on the number of people who are here on any individual issue. If translation is needed, the time will be doubled. And do we have people who want to talk about items not on the agenda?
Yes, we have 10 speakers on items not on the agenda. And the first speaker is Craig Vestermark, followed by Jacqueline Santos.
Thank you very much. My name is Craig Vestermark, and I wrote a letter last week to Dr. Jill Baker, and I wanted to share it with the school board. My name is Craig Vestermark, and I've lived in Long Beach all my life. I attended Wilson High School from September 1960 to June 1963. I played football for the legendary coach Skip Rowland. I was an all-CIF quarterback in 1962. In August of 1963, Skip Rowland was selected to be the head coach of the biggest high school football game in the country, called the North-South Shrine Game, played in the LA Coliseum for the Shriners Crippled Children's Hospitals. As an 18-year-old, it was a thrill of a lifetime for me to be selected one of the quarterbacks for the South team with some 60,000 people in attendance. I threw the game-winning touchdown pass and was selected player of the game. I later went on to work for the Long Beach Fire Department for 40 years. I am writing you, Dr. Baker, because of what is happening in high school football in Long Beach with Poly and Milliken. Justice Utupo at Poly has been there less than 1 year and has managed to get Poly thrown out of the CIF playoffs for his cheating. I don't need to tell you that Poly is probably the most storied high school football program in the country. No other high school in the country has put more football players in pro football than Poly High School, and is not even close. In his hire in less than 10 months, he has managed to turn the program upside down. Romeo Pelham at Milliken isn't much better, since he was hired as head coach in 2019 and was suspended in 2022 for his shenanigans and later reinstated. Then this year, he manages to bring in, I believe, 15 new transfers, of which some of the kids lied about their residence and have since departed, supposedly to the state of Arizona, so they could play football down there. However, the remaining 7 players had to sit out Milliken's first 4 games, and then became eligible per the CIF rules for transfer students. One of the players did play when he was not eligible, and Milliken had to forfeit a number of games because of it. Last Friday, a week ago, Friday night, I did attend the Milliken game against Elisa Nagel, which was won by Elisa Nagel 7-6.
Mr. Vestermark, your time is up.
That was 3 minutes? Oh, I'll be darned.
Yeah, but thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay, you're fine.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next speaker is Jacqueline Santos, followed by Katie Jernowski.
Good evening, board members. My name is Jacqueline Santos, and I'm a special education teacher in the moderate severe program at Madison Elementary. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to address a serious ongoing concern about the lack of adequate support in our moderate to severe special education classrooms. On November 7th of this month, I emailed the special education administrators to let them know the impact of cutting special education classroom aides and allocating only 1 instructional aide per classroom to meet the district's fiscal responsibility. Our teachers and aides are dedicated and doing everything they can, but they can only do so much if the classrooms are not staffed appropriately. Relying on just 1 classroom aide makes it impossible to provide the level of support each student requires. Our students require highly individualized support. My students often need help daily with communication systems, individualized academic instruction, one-on-one prompting, constant supervision for safety, staying on task, regulating emotions, managing challenging behaviors, transitioning between activities, toileting. In my classroom, I have students who are elopers, engaged in self-injury behaviors requiring medical monitoring. Since each student works at their own level, 1 aide and a teacher cannot simultaneously deliver the individualized instruction and supervise behavioral needs, especially during emergencies and transitions. Our academic instruction suffers. When my aide is helping a student with communication, calming strategies, emergency toileting, or managing behaviors, instruction becomes inconsistent or interrupted, and students do not receive the support they require to access the curriculum. IEPs often state one-on-one instructional support, dedicated behavior support, assistance with communication systems, specialized instruction support. When IEP accommodations are not consistently provided, when specialized supports are not available, and when classrooms cannot run safely due to safety shortages, students are denied the opportunity to make progress and reach their full potential. In a moderate to severe classroom, students' needs are too intensive, too diverse, and too constant. Adequate staffing ensures student safety, meaningful access to instructions. I have one of my classroom aides providing meaningful support for only 2.5 hours a day because the rest of the time she is covering 1.1 aides during their breaks and lunch. I'm respectfully asking the board and district leadership to please take the following action. Conduct an immediate review of staffing levels and resource allocations. Include the collaboration with the teachers and aides in each moderate severe program to provide a clear plan for stabilizing support in these classrooms. Moderate severe students are among the most vulnerable leaders in our district. They deserve equitable access to education, safety, and the specialized support guaranteed in their IEPs. Their families and staff who serve them want to work together with the district, but we need the district's help to ensure these classrooms are supported at the level the students require and not the level of district's fiscal
Ma'am, your
responsibility.
time is up.
Thank you.
Next, we have Katie Jernowski.
Hi, my name is Katie Jernatowski, and I'm a speech-language pathologist at a moderate-severe elementary campus. At our campus, we have 39 students who use augmentative and alternative communication systems. Last year, I pled the board and district leadership to support the assistive technology department because a dozen of my students were unable to communicate due to delays in the delivery and repair of their communication devices. And I want to thank you guys because the leadership helped facilitate that process, and they're now able to get the repairs and deliveries in a reasonable time frame. I'm coming to you today because those 39 device users and 21 other students lost access to critical support on November 4th, when they removed the second instructional aid from all of the upper elementary special education classrooms. Already, LBUSD has the largest SDC class sizes in the surrounding area, with 18 students compared to surrounding districts with 8 to 14 maximum, with even smaller class sizes in their most severe placements. This staffing loss not only significantly reduced the amount of support my 39 students have with their communication devices throughout the day, a guaranteed accommodation in their IEPs that is critical support for their independent communication growth, but one classroom support per aide per class spends 3 hours of their day covering lunches and breaks for one-to-ones. And they have to have that support for safety, nursing, or behavior reasons. They spend 1.5 to 2 hours diapering daily and are no longer able to support toilet training skills, and they spend the rest doing lunch and recess. In a 6-hour day, there's almost no time left to support instruction. Our students with severe disabilities have documented accommodations for one-to-one or small group instruction, which is no longer possible at the staffing ratio. This change has increased whole group learning time, which is inappropriate. Small group sizes are more than 8 students, and decreased differentiation from student levels of 4 down to 2 per classroom. Changes like this result in more intense service delivery for longer in a student's academic career and significantly add expense for the district at best, and at worst lead to due process and alternative dispute resolution. We hope that we can prioritize funding and budgeting to see a reinstatement of at least a second classroom instructional aid in the SDC classes with significant learning needs, high AAC use, high behaviors, to hopefully maintain the least restrictive learning environment that offers a free and appropriate public education with lower overall costs to the district. Because it's just simply not fair that those who need the most somehow still get the least.
Thank you. Next.
Next, we have Bronson Diaz. I'm sorry, apologies. We have Natalia Lema.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and community. My name is Natalia Lima, and I return here as a parent of a senior at Poly whose life and high school experience have been deeply impacted by the decision to voluntarily withdraw our football team from the CIF playoffs. What led me to be here standing before you all today? Rewind, September 2025. Poly forfeits 2 games as a result of ineligible players. Fast forward a month, October 30th, senior night. Unbeknownst to us, it was the kids' final game. October 31st, 9:12 a.m., receive an alert via band app from the head coach. No Saturday practice, we will find out our playoff opponent on Sunday. October 31st, 12:43 p.m., text from my son. I'll take the bus home after practice. October 31st, 2 p.m., Poly High School Principal Dr. Vega informs our kids in the film room they made the decision to voluntarily withdraw Poly from the 2025-26 CIF playoffs. October 31st, 2:35 p.m., email from Principal Dr. Vega via Parent View informing the parents they made the decision after they told our kids. October 31st, 3:34 p.m., one of the scariest calls in my life. My son says it's all over. No more football. 4 p.m., October 31st, I arrived at Poly. Nobody from the Poly football program is there, but a bunch of kids are crying. November 5th, 10:30 a.m., private parent meeting with Principal Vega. November 5th, 5 p.m., attend LBUS board meeting addressing my concerns. November 12th afternoon, I received an email stating the same thing they said before, why they withdrew them, CIF bylaw 202. November 12th, I sent an email to request superintendent and board members add this item to the agenda. November 19th, 2:35 p.m., I received an email from Principal Dr. Vega regarding the investigation and stated that 3 coaches violated CIF bylaw 202 subsection 5B and are no longer working with Piley High School. It's now present time, and I'm here wondering, how did we end up in this never-ending nightmare? Who will be held accountable for this diabolical mess? And what corrective steps are in place to make sure something like this never happens again? Who is advocating for our kids? They had told something to us about the staff, but they have not said anything about what this means for the future of the kids and the program. Does this mean that the kids could play next year if they decide to be sanctioned? Will they be eligible to be transferred? There are a lot of questions. Why are coaches being violating things that administration should only be responsible for handling the paperwork? Since when did coaches handle admin paperwork, and what is the athletic director and the principal doing about this? Poly High School was known for the school of the century. Let's not make this a smut on her name. Thank you.
Next.
Next we have Bronson Diaz.
Good evening. Hold on. Sorry. Good evening to you all. My name is Bronson Diaz. I'm an underclassman student athlete here at Long Beach Poly. 2 years ago, when it was time to choose a high school, I immediately knew I wanted to go to Long Beach Poly to play football. We've all heard about the legacies and the greatness that has always stood within the program. But it's really more than that. It's the culture. It's the people. When I first showed up my freshman year, I felt welcomed. I felt that culture. I felt that everyone knew each other and that feeling of acceptance. You don't get that feeling just anywhere, and I value that deeply, along with the sense of the love within the program. There's always a sense of communication, the communication where you could talk to coaches about things that you usually wouldn't talk to anyone about. That communication within the program that always kept everyone on the same page. Everyone knew what was going on week to week, and everything was kept in-house. It gave off that feeling of a true family. The past month, all of those feelings, they vanished. On October 31st, we were called in for a team meeting, and that's when the news broke that we were being withdrawn from the playoffs. I got up to speak and preached about how this was all God's plan. Now, being up here today speaking, I don't know if I could still say that. We were all so gullible on that day, and of course, we were all so confused and left with no answers. But now, as of today, 3 coaches have just been fired, and next year will be my 3rd head coach in 3 years in this program. That feeling of communication within the program and everyone being on the same page completely disappeared. Us as players felt betrayed due to the fact that the news was broke to us by our sports director and principal. It gave us the feeling that not only there was a lot that was not being said, but that there was something way more to this than just in quotations, cooperating with CIF. With all that being said, and I'm sure the other players who still have years of eligibility here would like to have that sense of clarity, that sense of knowing of what's next and have answers to what is really going on. We only get 4 years to play this game in high school, and I think the worst feeling is knowing that there's only 2 years left and you don't know what's to come next season. You don't know if this will happen again. It completely ruins that feeling of the sense of culture that was once so strong within the program. As of today, we are all here for the simple fact that we want justice and we want answers. Why is it that we as student athletes have to pay for the consequences of an adult's actions? Where's the guarantee that this won't happen again?
Next, we have Jerlene Tatum.
Jerlene Tatum. I want to begin by acknowledging the parents and community that have come forward to talk about what's happened with the football program. Adults have failed. This falls on the adults and just creating more and more harm on our students. Yet, I move on. So I recently attended a gathering hosted by the city of Long Beach, and they had these really beautiful, glossy posters posted up about affordable housing and homelessness. And this one poster, at the bottom of it, and the top of the header of the poster said affordable housing. The bottom of the affordable housing, high resources. The bottom of it had in small print, it said, very little affordable housing has been built in high resource neighborhoods like Bixby Knolls, California Heights, and East Long Beach that have high quality schools, parks, jobs, and the best environmental conditions. I was offended that this is the messaging that our city is putting out about our school district. As much as I come and give comment about the different concerns I have, I really hope that you're aware that that's the perception that the city has of our school districts and the imbalance that takes place across our district with our schools. Yet, a school board member just said today, said to Cabrillo students, regardless of the struggles on the west side, again, that perpetuates a stereotype. Please stop. The only struggle we have on the west side is the absence of leadership from our elected officials. So I had to rewatch the November 5th meeting, and specifically 16.3, the College Promise Resolution. And frankly, you all should be embarrassed. Do you realize you are here for the purpose of the public right now? Hence, your job is to keep us apprised of any and all information to help make the appropriate decisions on behalf of the public. The board meeting demonstrated that many of you are not here for the public, so I ask, who are you here for? And since Craig Haig and Benitez brought forward the resolution, did you do your due diligence first? Did you look in those board packets that are prepared for you? You know, teachers are expected to their students to read before their assignments. The public expects you to do the same. Now let's talk about October 6th community engagement meeting where one person showed up from the community. FYI, this meeting is not community engagement. A flyer is not outreach. And the fact that only one person showed up and you all blame the venue, Craig had 11 years of service, Benny in 7 years of service, Miller 5 years of service, Otto 5 years of service. Are you telling me you don't have relationships in the community to bring the community out to a community meeting? Shameful. And lastly, the CBS News coverage of the Center for Black Student of Excellence found it very interesting, and I really hope that the district lives up to the claims that were made in that interview.
Next, we have Keisha Woods.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keisha Woods, and I'm a teacher at James Madison Elementary School. I have been teaching SDC there for over 30 years. Tonight, I'm here with a very heavy heart. Ms. Santos let you know that a decision was made for our students who have very severe needs and who need a lot of support, that we will no longer have 2 aides, which is still a challenge, but we will be down to 1 aide. So everyone, we want them to know that as of today, the moderate severe student classes have 1 aide. I'm gonna repeat that, 1 aide. I'm gonna say it again, 1 aide. For 18 students, 15 students. In my class, I have 5 runners, 5 elopers. They elope all day long. I have my wonderful parents here and my teachers that I work with, and I'm here, I'm getting ready to retire soon. I'm on my way out. I'm sad for my students who will be here. I'm sad for this young teacher who stays literally to 7:30 at night trying to figure out how she's going to accommodate, how she's going to help her students to learn the next day, how she's going to manage staffing. 7:30, 5 years, more than that, maybe 5 or 10 years. I'm there with her, but she's there. And we're all 3 of us there working because we're trying to figure out how to make it work. It's not working. She is burnt out, literally burnt out. My parent here, the other day, we're having a problem with staffing for IBIs, and I understand this district staffing. It's hard. People are not accepting jobs. But my parents, they're coming in. If there's no support, they are taking their kids home. We don't want that. I need my students in class. I want them there. No matter how challenging the behavior, what the disability, whatever, I need my students to be there. They need that consistency. They need to be in the program that is designed for them. We have a great program, but we can't implement the program because we don't have the necessary people to help. My aide spends, with one of my students, I send 3 aides just to assist her in the restroom. They're gone for 25 minutes. Think, 25 minutes, and I'm there by myself with 2 other IBIs, but their students need that assistance, so I can't use them. So I am there, and my parents know I have an open door policy. What you see is what you get. They know they can come in, and if things are going, just not orderly as I would like them to go, they understand. So tonight, I'm just here to say, please, you need to reconsider. These teachers are going to get burnt out. We're going to lose more special ed teachers because they want to help their students, and they're frustrated. Parents are frustrated. And again, we have 1 aide in moderate severe now for our whole class. 1 aide. Thank you. Have a good night.
Next, we have Holland Brown.
Hello, everyone. I'm Holland Brown, and this is Karen Taylor, and this is Ariel De La Cruz, and we are 3 of the 33 employees at Ground Education, a long-term partner of the district in providing nature-based education on the elementary campuses. And I think we were probably supposed to speak under agenda item 8 because, we are here just to lend our enthusiasm, gratitude, and support for the Green Schoolyards board memo coming up in 11.7. You say anything?
Yeah.
Okay, and we will cede the rest of our time. Thank you.
Last, we have Derek Bordeaux.
Can I have their 2 minutes? All right, good evening, everyone. I didn't really expect to speak, so I have nothing written down, but I'm a parent of Long Beach Poly football 4 times. 4 sons come through the program, 2 nephews. And my issue is just with the way things were handled, who felt they had the authority to handle the things in the way that they did. Very disrespectful, very unfair. For those that aren't well versed in athletics, we have our kids getting there to practice 6 a.m. We're giving up summer vacations because they have to be at practice. We're taking them to and from the doctor, getting x-rays on injuries that they forget about so they can play Friday night through the pain. Saturday morning, we're taking them to school again for practice and for film. We're hiring tutors. We're staying up late night working on homework because they got out of practice at 8 or 9, and then they finally get home and eat and shower. So the sacrifices that these kids make, I'm not even speaking about the parents yet, but the sacrifices that these kids make made them deserve an explanation as to why their career was abruptly ended with no warning. Unfortunately, from our Dr. Vega, our principal, he knew this was going to be the case a month before he announced it. A month before he announced it. That could have given us time to prepare and just know that, okay, something happened. We don't even need to know what, but we do know when our last game is. We do let our seniors know, this is your last game. Here's your chance to say goodbye. Here's your chance to walk away. It's hard to say. Our kids showed up for practice on Friday, excited for the playoffs, and were met with a meeting letting them know that their career was over. These are kids. They're being punished by the selfishness of adults. Our principal, Dr. Vega, Mr. Vega, whatever it is, his title does not give him the right to do that to families. And to this very day, he still has not addressed any parent or our parents at all about what's going on. We still don't know why this season was ended. Maybe we get behind him and rally behind him once we find out the reason. But to have our kids walking around not knowing still, like I said, this is my 4th son and my 2nd nephew going through the program. My other 3 sons all won CIF rings. This was his chance. Taken from him on his 18th birthday. It's the worst. Somebody needs to hold these people accountable for what they did to our Poly football program.
Sir, your time is up.
Vice President Otto, that was our last speaker. I just want to do one point of clarification related to the speakers on the poly football. We did receive a request to place this item related to poly football on the agenda after the agenda for today's meeting was complete and developed. Under the protocol established by board policy and bylaw 9015, this request will be reviewed and considered by the board president and the superintendent during the agenda planning meeting for the December 10th, 2025 meeting, which is scheduled to be held next week. A determination will be made whether the request is consistent with the criteria outlined in board policy 9015. And the board president will either place the matter on the agenda or, if it doesn't meet the agenda requirement, provide an alternative mechanism to address that particular issue. So this is a matter that's already going through the process. And with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Baker for a few additional comments.
Thank you. I did want to take a moment tonight to read aloud the information that was provided today to Poly family members and the Poly community regarding what has taken place with the Poly High School football program. As part of the ongoing commitment to transparency, and I'm reading what was already produced, that's why I'm reading tonight. The district initiated a thorough internal investigation into concerns involving a violation of CIF rules related to student eligibility under CIF Bylaw 202B5, school personnel involvement. Our objective throughout this process has been to protect student athletes, uphold the integrity of our athletic programs, and comply with state and federal confidentiality laws. The internal investigation is now complete, and that is why information was shared today. The investigation confirmed that 3 coaches violated CIF Bylaw 202B5. While we cannot disclose confidential personnel or student information, we can share the following outcomes from our review. Poly's walk-on head coach has been released from employment with the district and will no longer be able to coach in Long Beach Unified School District. 1 assistant walk-on coach who resigned from the district during the investigation is no longer eligible to coach in Long Beach Unified School District. 1 assistant coach who also serves as a campus staff assistant has been relieved of all coaching duties and transferred to another location. We want to note that CIF Bylaw 202 can lead to serious consequences, including probation, game forfeitures, loss of playoff eligibility, or even loss of CIF or section membership. These penalties apply when school personnel provide or allow others to provide false or incomplete information to gain a student athlete an eligibility advantage. By proactively addressing the issue, the district intended to protect Poly from potentially more significant outcomes that CIF could impose. We recognize the disappointment and concern these events have caused within our community. Our student athletes and their families deserve programs built on integrity, transparency, and trust. While personnel consequences cannot undo the impact of this situation, they are essential steps to ensure accountability, reinforce expectations for all athletic staff, and support a firm and fair program moving forward. As we move ahead, the district will conduct a review of all athletic programs to ensure protocols, training, and expectations are clearly understood and consistently applied. This work will help strengthen procedures and improve accountability. Additionally, the district is awaiting CIF's final determination on any remaining sanctions. Once CIF confirms whether we comply or if further corrective action is required, we will communicate the following steps and ensure complete alignment with CIF expectations. We remain committed to supporting Poly students through this transition. Their dedication and resilience continue to inspire us, and we are focused on rebuilding confidence in a football program that reflects the values of our school and district. This is deeply important to all of us. There is no one involved in the decision, including Dr. Vega, that wants any harm caused to students. And so to our students, we are deeply sorry for the actions of adults, those who are listening, and I believe that that has been communicated at the school level, that no one wants students to suffer from the decision of adults. And we took responsibility for doing what I have just described. That was communicated to the community earlier today. Thanks.
Yeah. And please note that due to California law, we, the board, cannot enter into a discussion on any items not listed on the agenda. The reason for that is that it's not fair to have people come in and talk about things that are not on the agenda. And also, with that, we'll move on to the next agenda item. The next agenda item is report on superintendent advisory groups. First, the business, budget, and policy development. Dr. Benitez.
Yeah, just one item for me, Mr. Otto. So in or around January of this coming new year, our board will receive for our consideration an update to our policy to high school graduation requirements with 3 areas of particular interest. One around the math requirement, which we've heard from community about regarding our 4-year current requirement of math. Second area of note is around the ethnic studies requirement, now required by the state. And the third around a personal finance requirement, also a state requirement. So Mr. Moskovitz will be providing us more information. As with other policies for consideration, we'll get a draft version of that as an information item. Some kind of presentation, I'm assuming, as well, Brian. And then we'll be asked to take action on the new high school graduation requirement policy. That's my report.
Great, thank you. Second, under agenda item 10.2, instruction and student learning support, Ms. Lopez, Board Member Lopez will talk about that.
Yes, so we discussed 2 items, the ELD master plan and the school-wide gate cluster program. The ELD master plan will come to the board for review on December 10th and to the board for approval on December 17th. Also this year, 17 schools had their staff trained in gate strategies, and schools interested in becoming school-wide gate clusters should speak with Dr. Myers-Miller, and I definitely encourage schools to consider having their staffs trained and working with students and implementing gate strategies in the classroom. Thank you.
And finally, under reports of superintendent's advisory groups, 10.3 workforce development, Mr. Miller.
No report today.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to agenda item number 11, the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Otto, 2 for me. One is kudos to Ground Education for being here. Thank you for the wonderful work you're doing across so many of our schools and so many of our grade levels as well. So we appreciate the work, and we do have an item here under consideration as well to expand that and strengthen that work. I do have a question, Mr. Moskovitz. We have a grant proposal approval here for strengthening the workforce, and I'm particularly interested in how we're targeting our populations that have historically been challenged to both participate in and to be successful in these kinds of opportunities. I know it's a $2 million grant, potentially impacting, positively impacting 16,000 students. So could you speak to some of the targeted subgroups that we want to ensure benefit from these programs?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share on behalf of Dr. Myers-Miller.
Excuse me one second. Can you tell us what agenda item number that is for the public?
Item, thank you, Mr. Otto. 11.6, approval of grants and compliance report.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm happy to share a little bit on behalf of Dr. Myers-Miller. So this grant that we're seeking builds on some of the other CT grants that we currently have in our district. We've been really lucky to be able to seek and receive many millions of dollars worth of grants that are allowing us to build our CT pathways for our students, build internships, externships. So this specific grant that we're seeking is going to allow us to increase mentoring, tutoring, counseling, and transportation, specifically focusing on students who've been disproportionately impacted, including our Hispanic students, African American, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and students with IEPs. So within the grant proposal that we have submitted, it's specifically looking for opportunities to support those students within those groups to dismantle some of those barriers that have prevented them from maybe having access to some of those internships or college career readiness programs that others may have had.
Including pre-apprenticeship opportunities, right, Mr. Moskovitz?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also have a few questions. Item 11.1, on the minutes for August 6th. Number 14.7, item 52. The over $24 million that were approved for the district's software and services of the $42 million that my colleagues approved. I was the one who asked for clarification regarding the scope of services and long-term report, and the minutes state that it was Member Benitez, so if that can be corrected. Also on the minutes for September 3rd, item 16.4 on meeting dates. If you can include that I voted against the date as scheduling workshops during weekday mornings restricts participation from our essential voices of our community, which include our parents, our students, our educators. And I stated that during the meeting, and I'd just like to, for you to include that. And then finally, on the September 17 meetings, number 14, the consent calendar, I abstain on items 14.5, numbers 11, 12, 13, because these were claim incident reports, and I didn't feel I had enough information, and if you can just include that these were claim incident reports. And on 11.5, I just want to acknowledge and express appreciation for the generous donations made by the Norris Foundation to CAMS for $35,000, the PTAs, PTOs who donated to their schools, Longfellow PTA who donated a total of $37,645, Rogers PTA $27,971, Herrera PTO $18,000, and Naples PTA $114,723. And I know I said this before, but just also wondering if LBUSD might consider exploring how similar efforts can be replicated in other school sites. And then I do have on item 11.7, which is the purchasing contracts. If I can just ask that the font is bigger in the future. I wear glasses and it's still very difficult for me to read that. So it's incredibly tiny, and I'm just asking publicly if we can have that, the font bigger. And then last on item 11.7, number 33, the contract that is being increased by $100,000 from $85,888 to $185,885 to operate and manage after-school programs at Henry Elementary School. And my question is this program in addition to the Kids Club that's there, or in lieu of? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so Henry has two different programs under the ELOP umbrella. They have Kids Club, which they've had for a long time, and they also have the traditional ELOP program that's run by Campfire. This grant was increased because there was a wait list. There's been a wait list at Henry that we want to try to meet. It's a not to exceed amount, so it's not an automatic payment to Campfire. They have to actually enroll those students and serve those students throughout the year.
Any other reports? Questions? Call for the question. Pardon? Ready to vote? Can we have?
Yes. Member Lopez?
Aye.
Vice President Otto?
Aye.
Member Benitez?
Aye.
Member Miller?
Aye.
And Student Member Nuala?
Aye.
That is
Passes.
4-0, passes with one preferential vote.
Yes. So we're now moving on to new business, item number 12, and we'll start with 12.1, which is the acceptance of the monitoring report for the board interim goal 1A, detailed agenda item accepted for monitoring report for board items goal 1A1. We have a report from Dr. Dr. Baker.
Thank you. I'm going to kick us off tonight and also be joined by Mr. Zaid and Mr. Moskovitz as we address the questions that were submitted by the board related to this report. So this report starts on page 57 for those who may be following along on the agenda online. It includes several pages of the actual monitoring report and then the questions that were asked by the board ahead of time. And we have some additional questions that were submitted that we will provide some context for tonight. So I'm going to just do a little bit of context setting and then go into the report itself. So this is actually the second monitoring report since July of Interim Goal 1A. And just to remind all of us, the board and public, there are 3 interim goals that, when combined, provide an overall illustration of predictability or progress to meeting the board goal. And so the board goal itself is the percentage of grade 3 students who meet or exceed grade level standards on the state English Language Arts SBAC assessment will grow from 48% in June 2023 to 70% by June 2028. There are 3 interim goals, the one we will study tonight, and then 1B is an interim goal that has to do with fluency, and 1C, the iReady reading diagnostic. And I'm just stepping back to remind all of us that tonight's report is about the details of foundational reading skills assessment. It gets combined with fluency and iReady as interim measures towards meeting the board's goal. And then also stepping back in July, the July 16th report, progress monitoring report that the board accepted, included several important aspects of data, of end-of-year data. It also included a historical perspective related to how the goal was set, how the interim goal of 85% was set. We held a discussion, and I actually maintained the questions that you all asked about the administration of the assessments, what are foundational reading skills, how is it assessed? So really good questions that set a foundation for coming forward to today's report. And then also in July, as I looked back in preparation for this report, there was a strong analysis by our team that included what's working, what needs more attention, and what next steps were. Tonight is actually, so as I step into the November monitoring report, if you were to have them side by side, you would notice continued getting more specific, continued analysis based on the work that has happened since the school year started, interaction with teachers and professional learning experiences that bring us to the November monitoring report. So the November monitoring report uses fall data to increase the precision of the analysis, which I will speak to in just a moment, and other related actions. We've had multiple staff that are close to the work, participating in this analysis, those who are provide training itself, those who are interacting with teachers, along with senior team who are responsible for these bodies of work. So then to this report itself. So on page 58, just making note, and as we continue to learn our way into this, I'll just call out the effective categories for an effective monitoring report include the goal. So on page 58, you'll see at the top both in support of board goal 1, which I cited, and then the interim goal itself, which is by June 2028, 85% of students in grade 2 will meet or exceed on the spring foundational reading skills assessment from 69% in June. Also calling attention to the middle of that page, it has 2 data representations. Appreciating our research team who tries to make the illustrations simple and easy to read for our community, for this discussion. Tonight has, on the left-hand side, you'll see the interim goal 1A data that we will be talking about. There are lots of questions that we'll address about the difference between December and October that Mr. Moskovitz will speak to in just a few moments. On the right, that is a reminder about the goal itself. So actually this report is speaking to the data that is on the left, and we'll get into those details in a few moments. And then also included the second part of an effective monitoring report, the data itself. You can see the evaluation of current performance, naming some aspects of those data points. And then getting to page 59. Part 3 is the interpretation. In an effective monitoring report, there's interpretation, so you will see our team's analysis as well as what's working. And just to call out a few things that seem really important, and you're about to hear more about these. When you look at what's working in analysis, again, from July to now, significant increase in the precision that we can speak to. such as daily decoding routines continue to be a strength across school sites. That is through observation as well as through data analysis. And it also has to do with the combination of teaching and the supervision practices of our principals who are learning to be more specific in their feedback. The second bullet point speaks to calibration around success criteria, again, going more specifically into the routines of daily decoding. And then the third speaks to, and there were a number of board questions that we'll address about this, rather than thinking broadly about English language arts, what does it look like to have a specific tool that helps teachers and their support staff and supervisors to really be precise about their feedback? And then the last part of an effective monitoring report is that evidence and plan. You'll see in what needs more attention, again, side by side, July to now, there's an increase in language of consistency. There are new data reports that have been prepared for teachers and for principals to use. So again, the analysis of data at a much more granular level that is connected to the way that we're monitoring at the board level. And then the use of that data, how we want and expect our teachers and our administrators to think about the use of that data to change what's happening in classrooms. And then that last section, I'll call attention to a few things that are getting more precise. The need for differentiated coaching and support based on student outcome data, so not thinking about all the same for all schools, but our ability with the fall data to be more precise and to assign coaching and support based on that data. And then the refinement of small group instruction, which we know once a teacher really knows their students and they've got a set of foundational reading skills to look at, their data to look at, they can be forming groups that are based on that data and really drilling down into the decoding routines that specific students need. And then lastly, you'll hear a few highlights because it was among the questions that were asked by board members about how staff, principals, and teachers are being supported and what does that data analysis look like. And so Mr. Zayed will share a couple examples as recently, and it's named in the report, but on last Friday, there was a Q1 review with the same kinds of data that you're going to look like down to the school and classroom level, so that from boardroom to classroom, there's a conversation around the same data points and building the language of consistency in how we're focusing our efforts to ensure that we meet the overall goal for reading proficiency in Goal 1. So we've taken some time to look at all of the questions, and they fall largely in two buckets, and then we'll interact with the questions that you may want to ask beyond what has already been asked. We'll try to name the questions so community has an opportunity to hear the questions out loud that were asked. They fall largely into data and reporting and accountability, wanting to know a little bit more about some of the ways that data are being compared from October to December this year, and we want everyone to be clear on that. And then school supports and systems to ensure student success. And so we're going to participate. Brian's going to jump in and David's going to jump in on those categories, and then we'll open up for continued dialogue if that's okay with you all. Okay.
Dr. Baker, just one very minor suggestion / request, and it might help when we refer to the data points. I found myself fumbling in writing the questions to how to refer to the different visual graphs and charts and tables. So my minor suggestion or request is if we could say, like, I know they have the full title, but in lieu of having to write out the full title or refer to the full title, if we could say figure 1 or figure 2 or table 1, table 2, that way when we're referring to it. And I'm particularly also cognizant that some of them I can't say by color, so I don't say that third one with the 3 different colors. So I think it would make it easier if we could have just like a figure 1A or figure 1 or for upcoming monitoring reports.
Yeah. So for tonight, maybe referring to left-hand side of the illustration or right-hand side, we'll do our best to.
Yeah, and I was fumbling as I was drafting my questions. And I'm like, I got to write out the whole, because I don't know how to describe which of those 3 figures I'm referring to.
Okay, if we didn't get it right, you can correct us tonight how we respond. All right.
Thanks.
That's great. And I will say that our research team, if not watching live now, they always go back and review these discussions. And so this feedback I can almost guarantee you will show up in the next report. Not the one you're going to get tonight, because you're going to get one already, but coming soon, we will be able to label those reports for you. So thank you. So there were several questions, and for those who are able to download from the agenda, the actual questions from board members and the staff responses, there were a couple of different questions that were asking about the new baseline, the rationale for the change from a December administration to an October administration. How do we actually then compare results from different administrations? Really, what was that about? Why did we do that, and what does that data tell us, since it is a different time frame? So I'll speak a little bit to that. Just a quick reminder for folks who may be following along at home, and maybe a reminder for folks in this room. When we talk about that foundational reading skills assessment, when we think about the Scarborough's rope, the way that students learn to read, there's the language development, and then there's the foundational skills. And so those foundational skills are phonics, phonemic awareness, and fluency. Those are the three components of the foundational skills. So when we have our foundational reading skills assessment, or FIRSA as we call it, we're measuring student progress on those foundational skills. And so we measure things like blending, segmenting, students' ability to read high-frequency words, sometimes called sight words, and fluency is an additional component. In first and second grade, students are actually reading passages to see if they can read at a certain pace, a certain number of words, read it with accuracy, and at a certain pace so that they can read those a certain number of words within a certain amount of time. So as we, in prior years, we've had this FIRSA in our district for many years. In prior years, we had 3 administrations. We would do a December administration, March, and June. And while that gave us some data, one of the challenges we experienced in working with our teachers and our principals was that first assessment not coming until December. We didn't have early on in that year real actionable data to be able to say what might we do in support of students earlier, intervention, acceleration. And so we made a determination, not just for FIRSA, but actually all of the common assessments we're administering this year, common math assessments, common English language arts assessments in grades 3 through 8 for language arts, actually even into high school as well, and math assessments. So all of those common assessments, we moved to a quarterly time frame. So this year, we're administering all of those in October, in January, in March, and in June. So what this is going to do, it's going to give us one more touch point. Not that we're trying to over-assess students, that's not the goal, but the goal is to get more actionable data more frequently. And so by shifting that initial assessment specific to this report, FIRSA, from December to October, we now in early November have actionable data that we can see clearly which students are on track, which students are off track. In many cases, the students who are off track in just small ways. And I will reference for a moment, if you can look, so I'm gonna give you a directional of the bottom left of the 3 data points. So this is just the table that shows the numbers. If you look at kindergarten, for example, in October of this year versus December of last year, it's approximately the same. 46% this year in October, 47% in December. If you slide over to grade 1 and grade 2, you'll notice a greater discrepancy. So I mentioned that fluency assessment. This is where students are reading a passage, a first grade passage in first grade, or they're reading a second grade passage in second grade. So a second grader in October who's just come into second grade are being asked to read a second grade text that is much more complex than what they would have read when they were in first grade. So when we actually break down the data, what we found was that the area where most of our students in first and second grade were falling out was actually on that fluency component of FIRSA. And so by moving to the earlier assessment window in October, we now know earlier on who those students are that need that support. And our teachers, and you'll hear from Mr. Zaid in a moment, some of the ways that we're engaging through daily decoding routine and other ways, actually practicing the skill of fluency with the idea that our teachers are providing support and intervention so students can accelerate in that. So again, just kind of summarizing that component, why did we switch to October? We switched to October to have one more touch point on data earlier on in the year that we can then act on. The reason we can't compare them is because what we're asking students to do is read passages, first and second grade passages, that they just haven't had enough seat time to be able to have the exposure and experience to that. So what we plan to do is maintain this quarterly assessment. Our goal is not to change this year to year, that we'll maintain this quarterly cycle over the coming years, and then we will be able to more accurately measure quarterly assessment, quarter one assessment this year to quarter one next year, quarter two this year to quarter two next year. And just last thing I'll say on this point, the interim goal itself is about the end of the year foundational reading skills assessment. So the table on the top right, or the graphic on the top right, that is we're pushing towards 82% of our students proficient on FIRSA by June. So when we're looking at the chart on the left, we're actually the interim goal isn't measuring where we are in October. We are using the data from the quarter one, quarter two, quarter three to make sure that we are on track for the interim goal itself, which is that by June, we are at 82% or higher of our students proficient on FIRSA. So I'll pause there and see if there's any clarification on any of what I just shared before we move on to some of the other components.
Yeah, I guess thank you, Brian, that was very helpful, and the response on the pre-asked questions, I think, reflected that as well. I think I was one of the ones that asked that question, and it was more around making sure that we're not using this year's assessment in relation to last year's, because students have had less instruction time. So on the surface, this may appear to someone to be a dip from where we were last year, but because of what you just explained, we're not comparing data year to year in this case.
That is true. Now, I will just add one piece. When we measured on that FIRSA at the end of October, we were measuring on the skills that had been taught to that point. So we would expect students to be fairly proficient on the skills taught. The one piece is that fluency assessment is a first grade fluency assessment, a second grade fluency assessment. That does take more time. Students need more exposure, more experience reading grade level text, either in whole group or in small group. And so that's why when you see that big discrepancy in grade 1 and 2, that we will expect that to look differently come quarter 2, because students will have had more experience, another whole quarter of experience reading grade level text. We would expect their fluency scores to accelerate. And then the last thing I'll say about fluency, you're about to get later this evening the 2 reports that will be showing up at the December 10th board meeting. Those are about fluency. And so the other thing is the foundational reading skills assessment. I mentioned those components. One of the components is fluency. We pulled that out for interim goal 1B, interim goal 2B. So we'll go into a deeper dive about fluency more specifically into the next month's reports.
So I'm going to take just a moment to speak to some of the professional development and some of the ways that we're building capacity and precision in our feedback. And one of the, not just, I'll just say, questions and next steps and some of the things that need more attention, but one of the ways that was illustrated was in the professional development that was planned for principals on November 14th. So this past Friday, we really spent time with a focus on foundational skills and our daily decoding routine. And that morning was spent doing exactly what we are doing now. It was looking at the individual site data and pulling up a very specific report that showed specifically where students were doing well on the foundational reading assessment and where students had, we'll just say, trends, and how those trends were then related to instruction. In addition, we were very specific around the cut points. And here's what I mean as a cut point as just an example. An example, as Mr. Moskovitz shared, was high frequency words. So on the very first Unit 1 assessment, out of the 40 high frequency words, students only have to know 14 on the first Unit 1 assessment that we were looking at. So we were looking at how many students were above 14, how many students were at 14, and how many students were below or significantly below 14, because that is how we arranged our small groups. And then on Friday, we spent time looking at specific classrooms who were getting data that was far and above, we'll just say, all the other data that we were seeing. And we went in to look specifically at those classrooms. And then because we had a printout of every data or every class that we went to go see. And while I'm speaking, I might as well give a shout out to those school sites who had that above and beyond individuals. So specifically, I'm talking about we were at Edison, Longfellow, Mann, Twain, Whittier, and Riley, looking at the examples. And what we received is we received a printout of the class and the data on the class. And we spent time highlighting individual students as to where they were so that we could see how the teacher was working with them during whole group lesson, and specifically how the teacher was working with them through small group lesson. So we spent time analyzing the data to make sure that our small groups that were being selected and all of the action steps in quarter 2 aligned with the data that we were seeing. But what I appreciated the most is the precision that we were moving towards with principals being able to give feedback and come alongside their IICs and their ELA leads who are also engaged in this work. And so it was really great to see firsthand teachers actually teaching, moving through the pace. And I would say not just focused on syllables or on decoding or segmenting or breaking words apart, but really getting down to dictation and then getting into making sure that the students were having opportunities to read that in text, moving to decodables. And on, I'll just say in the report, when we take a look at some next steps, when we refer to high fidelity in DDR, when we say what needs more attention, and we talk about tier 1 instruction needs to be more systematized, what we were talking about is sometimes disparity in those instructional moments, because daily decoding routines are supposed to be 30 minutes. And so sometimes we have individuals who will run out of time and they'll say, I can't get to the dictation, or I don't have time to allow the students to read this in context. And breaking apart words or reading words in isolation, but not seeing them in the context of my writing with dictation, not seeing them in the context of having the opportunity to read them, is where there is that disconnect and sometimes that disparity. So by looking at some of our exemplars who were not only getting the data to support, but we're modeling that in a 30-minute segment and then moving into small groups, allowed us to be in the classroom, talk about what we saw, step out of the classroom, huddle, and talk about how we would give feedback and what those instructional next steps might look like, and then go back. And so those are some of the ways in which we are moving forward with, again, capacity building and precision in the feedback that we are able to give aligned to the data that we are studying and analyzing.
I was going to ask you to share also about having curriculum staff alongside principals and what that looks like in the setting that you were in.
Yeah, so I failed to mention that, and this was orchestrated in collaboration with OCIPD, our curriculum office, and so our curriculum leads were right there. We were walking together. And one of the other things that I'll also speak to as a highlight in one of the questions is specifically for principal supervisors are partnering with curriculum leads when they are in the field coaching. So we have their schedules of when they're in the field coaching, when they're doing a coaching cycle, and we have opportunities to walk alongside them and to really, I'll just say, strengthen and sharpen the feedback that we are given and the opportunity to really see this in action firsthand. But this is all in collaboration with OCIPD, and our curriculum team actually led us through the data analysis, led us through the trends, and then they showed how when we saw a trend specifically in segmenting or in blending, where the disparity might be in that classroom. So it really helped us sharpen I'll just say all of the each site pulling teachers together in grade levels to do the exact same thing. Look at their data. Where can we make some tweaks? Where can we make some adjustments? What are we learning from the data? And then how do we support the students who need that support? And then do small groups to make sure that all of our students are prepared for our next assessment.
And will the school sites continue to do that kind of work and the professional development? And what supports will be provided to our lower performing sites?
So that's a great question. So yes, that work is continuing. What each site is turning in is their what are being called as coaching cycles. And so those coaching cycles include modeling in a classroom. It includes meeting with the teacher for opportunities to reflect on what they saw modeled. It includes some planning of the teacher, and then the teacher performing what was modeled or doing the daily decoding routine with the coach, then giving them input. So those are coaching cycles that are continuing. And then for our sites that are not performing at the same level, we have our principal supervisors as well as our OCIPD site coaches coming together and providing additional support at those sites.
And what will the district do different to meet the goal? Because we're off track, right? And so we have greater gains to make. So what will we do different this year?
So a part of that difference that I would say is a little bit of what I spoke to earlier, and that is making sure that we're looking at the data, and specifically with those cut points, we're looking at which students are potentially off track, right? So which students did not make those cut points? How do we make sure that we are meeting with those students in small groups? And what's the frequency of those small groups to give them that extra opportunity and extra practice? And then we're also looking at the students who, again, if we were measuring it against the next cut point, would not make it. So how do we make sure that those students are getting that practice, and how do we make sure that we're doing what's called formative assessments? So every time we're doing that whole group instruction, we know which students are not quite there so that we are calling on them. We're making sure that they're getting practice. We have extra eyes on ensuring that that consistency is there to help them get there.
If I may add on, Mr. Saeed, one of the questions that came from board members was in relation to references we made about the Lookforce tool. So we mentioned a couple of different times this Lookforce tool, and I think you asked a question, Board Member Lopez, about the do different. So in prior years, we would have our principals, we would train our teachers, and we'd have our principals go into classrooms looking for what I would call good but broad pedagogical practices, things like student engagement, teacher clarity, formative assessment. And these are things that we train teachers on. These are things that we expect teachers to implement on a regular basis. Good practices that we would want to see in every classroom. When we talk about high quality tier 1 instruction, we would expect to see these practices in any classroom regardless of content. In collaboration with our Office of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development this year, what they've done is they've taken those strong pedagogical practices and they've identified what does that look like in a K2 literacy lesson. So specifically, what does it look like student engagement around daily decoding routine? What does it look like to have teacher clarity or formative assessment, specifically in a phonics lesson, for example? We have those for mathematics. What does it look like when you go into an algebra classroom? What does it look like to see those pedagogical practices in action in mathematics with specific look-fors of what a teacher would be doing in a math classroom, what students would be doing, how students would be responding? So that's a do different this year. We're getting more specific in what our administrators are looking for, what our teachers are getting support in, what our teachers are providing support for one another in. Our instruction intervention coordinators, our literacy leads, these are peers, teacher peers, who are in the classroom modeling, supporting one another using these guidance documents. So we're getting more precise in our language, we're getting more precise in our look-fors. And then the feedback, because of experiences like what we had on Friday with our principals and our curriculum folks out in schools together, aligning getting aligned in what we should be looking for, our feedback then is becoming more precise. And so we can provide that more specific feedback to teachers.
And then how will multilingual learners and our students with exceptional needs be supported differently?
So yeah, and I always appreciate that question. One of the, when we think about high quality tier 1 instruction, that includes the specific things that every English learner should receive every day. So designated and integrated ELD, English language development, should be happening in our classrooms. And so when you heard Mr. Zaid talk about small group instruction, that is a structure that can be used in a classroom to support English learners. But that's not above and beyond. That is the core work. So when our teachers are working in doing the daily decoding routine, teaching these skills around fluency, teaching the skills around phonics and phonemic awareness, they're monitoring our English learners, and then, if need be, pulling those students in to do some really targeted support. So the ELA, ELD framework is at the center when we're thinking about this foundational skills. It is that tier 1 instruction as it relates to English learners. And the support that you heard reference around differentiated instruction, small group instruction, that is for all students, and it's specifically for our English learners as well.
Can you speak a little bit about the students with exceptional needs?
You're talking about students who might be gate identified, higher achieving?
No,
So
those and then
okay.
Students with that require additional support and may have a 504
Sure.
in place. Yes.
Yeah, so on both ends, right? Yes. So we definitely have our, so in every classroom, of course, we have that high quality tier 1 instruction. We also have specialists throughout the school that support teachers if need be to develop their own skills. So the intervention instruction coordinators, the literacy leads, they're there to support the teacher, to provide strategies that they might try. Oftentimes, our students who may have an IEP or a 504, they benefit most from quality tier 1 instruction. That is what benefits them most. And then they have additional supports within their IEP. And that can be provided in the classroom by the teacher in a small group or in a one-on-one setting. And it may also be provided by specialists who are trained. But the IEP, in the situation of a student with an IEP or a 504, is really what drives what kind of supports that student may receive.
Sorry, Mr. Zaid, do you want to finish the thought?
I was just going to add on to two components. So one, I wanted to add on to the content-specific look-fors. So not only do the content-specific look-fors give explicit success criteria for foundational reading skills, it also includes small group instruction. It also includes building knowledge and language. And then the last one is integrated and designated ELD in classrooms. So we give specific success criteria for how this should look. And then one of the questions that was asked, and I just wanted to mention one more thing, it was, what are some things that you're doing differently as it related to foundational reading skills? And I wanted to share a resource that was recently shared by our Office of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development. Sometimes I use acronyms like OCIPD, but just for our viewing audience, I want to make sure that they know that that's our Office of Curriculum. Recently, they shared in time for our parent-teacher conferences that were in November, a foundational reading skills parent guide. And inside of this guide, specifically for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, all inside this guide, it talks about the skills that are happening in the classroom. It gives examples, and then it gives practical ways that parents can practice with their children at home as well. So when we think about, I'll just say, making the learning that's happening in the classroom transparent, when we think about sharing some precise skills that specifically outline, here is what the teacher says, and here is what the teacher does, and here's an example of what that can look like anytime you might be walking with your child in the neighborhood or walking the dog, or so it gives very specific ways to support students, and this again is a do different.
On that last point, Mr. Zaid, and I want to be very clear who I'm talking about. Students with disabilities, right, is who I'm talking about.
Okay.
So again, whether that's an IEP or 504, understanding that we have some disparities across schools, and I love that you're using exemplars from specific schools, and understanding that the biggest point of positive impact here is at the classroom level, right, with our teachers. So I love the transparency, the accountability, the supports. I wanted to hear a little bit more, and both you and Mr. Moskovitz touched on it, Mr. Zaid. These disparities within schools amongst our most underserved students with disabilities, multilingual learners, our students in our foster care system. Can you talk a little bit about what we're doing, and this is bullet point 4 under next steps, to ensure leadership accountability? So understanding that teachers are a big point of impact, but the number 2 is principals. All right, so can we talk a little bit more on not the alignment necessarily, but what are the look-fors for principals? All right, and how are we holding our principals and our leaders accountable just as we are our teachers, particularly for our most underserved students with disabilities, multilingual learners, given that we're seeing disparities across schools, but even within the same school, we have these disparities.
So I appreciate that, and what I would share is our lever. We have 2 levers that we are focused on. One of those levers is data analysis and progress monitoring, but lever number 1 is supervision, feedback, and coaching. And so the expectation is that principals or administrators are in classrooms providing feedback. One of the I'll just say tools that our administrators use and spend time talking to their principal supervisors about is their own opportunities to get into the classroom where they have a variety of different tools that they can use. And so to give you an example of that, one of the sites that I directly supervise, I can see in their tool which specific content tool they're using. So it gives them an option to use the QCI tool, which is the one that we used last year. It also gives them an opportunity to use the ELA Look For tool, or it gives them an opportunity to use the math Look For tool. And so every time they're going in, what that tool allows us to spend time talking about is which classrooms we're getting to, what times of day are we getting to, what grade levels are we not getting to, and then what is the perception data that you have versus the actual outcomes in that classroom, and where might there need to be shifts. And that's not just something that's done by our administrators alone. Our administrators are walking with their teams. So our administrators walk with our IICs. They walk with their leads. We walk together. I walk with a principal and a lead, and we're looking for the look-fors and calibrating the feedback together. So that's where that expectation comes in, or that accountability measure comes in, and it becomes a conversation each time we have that opportunity to meet and talk.
Something I would add on, Mr. Zaid gave a great example of last Friday when in the morning, he gave an example of the morning session when we were out at schools looking for, along with coaches, looking at instruction. Well, we're talking about the foundational skills right now. That's where we were in elementary. At the secondary level, we were middle and high school principals were in middle schools looking at mathematics, and we were all together looking at mathematics in a very similar process. But in the afternoon after that, we all came together, all principals were together, and under the guidance of Dr. Madrigal and her team, we went through an entire Q1 progress monitoring process. There's some amazing reports and applications that Dr. Madrigal and her team have designed that when we get an opportunity, maybe in a workshop, we'd love to show you, maybe even get you out to a site so you can see what it looks like in implementation. But as part of that, as part of principals looking at that data in a very strategic way, we talked, it was all grounded in accountability. And as you may recall prior visuals where we talked about board goals flowing to classroom, back and forth. Here we were talking about accountability flowing back and forth. The accountability that we're engaged in right now. Like we are all being held accountable right now to these outcomes, or where we're at so far, these outputs. We expect the same of principals, coaches, district leaders, teachers, all throughout our system, there needs to be accountability. And so what we were doing on Friday was building that system of accountability that we can all rely on. And at the end of that, Mr. Zaid and Mr. Samuels and their teams asked principals, what are you going to commit to do over the next X number of weeks? And principals turned into them what that is going to be. And as part of the work of principal supervisors in the next couple of weeks of visits at sites is, okay, you said you were going to do this as a result of your data. Show me evidence that you've done that. So we're building the systems of accountability through Dr. Madrigal and team. We're building the accountability, not just for principals, but literally throughout our system. This is accountability. What we're doing with teacher teams working together around data. Something else that's unique in our system, for the first time ever, all teachers at a school site have access to the data of all the teachers at that school site, within a department at a secondary level or within a grade level at an elementary school. So they're having really open, authentic, transparent conversations about, like, I'm at 60%, you're at 80%. What can I learn from you? What are you doing that I can learn from? So that I appreciate the question about accountability. It's a scary word for some folks. It's not meant to be a hammer that we're hitting people with, but that it's building something that we can all rely on, that we can all count on, that we can all hold ourselves accountable individually and then collectively.
Yeah, you answered the question that I was going to ask, but I just want to give you your kudos in regards to creating what I'm hearing is almost a cadence of accountability. I think that's the part that I've had some, not concerns. I just know that it can be uncomfortable at times. And so creating a cadence where people are prepared for the quantifying of our goals, reviewing it, tweaking it, and implementing it, and knowing that that's going to be a consistent cadence, and I'm just happy to hear that, so thank you.
A couple of things I just want to highlight that were shared, but just to bring maybe a little bit greater focus. One is it is unique, and I think we should be really proud of it. In Long Beach Unified, there's often a disconnect between curriculum development and curriculum staff and principal supervisors. We are often looked to ask, how have we set up the system where those groups are working in tandem, literally, as Mr. Zaid described, side by side in a school building, learning, doing, creating together. And so when our team talks about a look-for tool, a more precise look-for tool with these phonics routines, that's co-developed, it's co-owned, and also there's no mystery to it. So teachers are seeing it in training, it's connected to their learning experiences, it's not different when they get out to their classroom. If they're being coached by an IIC or somebody that works at the TRC, same language as their principal, so really just a lot of consistency in that, and that is something that this team can be really proud of. And then just there were some questions about small group instruction, and David addressed this, but just to really amplify that, there are the whole group experiences that students are having, and then when you ask about differentiation for students with a 504, students with disabilities, students on a higher end in terms of their reading, that's where small group instruction comes in. It allows a teacher now to take that report and not group for the whole year, the same group, but to say, here are the skills in the foundational reading skills that this group of students have missed or need some additional instruction in. Pull them into a small group setting. It doesn't mean they're always with that same group. As was shared, formative assessment and the ongoing opportunity for teachers to look at these reports allows them flexibility in those groupings based on the skill that is needed, rather than whether they are designated as a student with disabilities or a 504. Allows for a lot of flexibility in that grouping. And I second the opportunity for a board visit. We have some past practice of getting out to schools as recently as last year to talk to students in algebra. There's nothing like watching the routines happen and being able to either sit with students or to watch a teacher make their magic in terms of these routines and then stand outside. Perhaps we can then have the teacher come out and talk about what it looks like and what they've learned and how they implement. So perhaps in the winter quarter, we can find a way to get out to some schools together.
Dr. Baker, if I could just add, as an FYI, also all of our ed specialists who are RSP teachers are also trained in the Sunday program, which is a reading program, and so They provide those services to the students on their caseloads, but they also provide services to students who might not be on their caseloads as an intervention for them. And typically that is a service that's provided. All of the schools have an RSP teacher, and they've all been trained.
Well, one of the points that I'd like to make after listening to all this is that what you seem to be doing is creating a culture of cooperation rather than competition. And that what's going on is everybody's working together to the same end, and it's not threatening under those circumstances. And it's amazingly hard to do, but I can see that that's one of the goals here.
Mr. Otto, I'd like to move to accept monitoring report for Board Interim Goal 1A.
Is there a second? Second.
Second.
Right. Take a vote.
Member Lopez?
Aye.
Vice President Otto?
Aye.
Member Benitez?
Aye.
Member Miller?
Aye.
And Student Board Member Nuala?
Aye.
That passes 4 votes with 1 preferential vote.
So now we will go to agenda item 12.2, student outcomes, focused governance implementation timeline. And Mr. Eric, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I just want to provide a little bit of an update on some of the things that's been going on in our weekly implementation team meetings. And so, first off, Greg Klein, President Craig Head, and Board Member Nuala, they met to work on narrowing down our board goals. As you all know, at the last board meeting, we talked about, 15 different board guardrails. I'm sorry, board guardrails. We talked about 15. We're whittling them down, or at least we gave the goal of getting them down to about 5 here. And so, I was glad to hear that they've already met, and so still some more work to be done, but it is on the up and up. Next, staff received questions from 4 board members this week for our board monitoring, so we're almost there. Next, we have Board Member Otto is continuing to conduct the time tracking, and Board Member Lopez is continuing to do the the tracking of effective monitoring practices. Obviously, 2 separate deals, one focusing on the quantity, the other one focusing on the quality. And Board Member Otto is planning for the next community engagement session that will take place in January. He and I met earlier today, in fact, to talk through at least some of the structures that we would like to carry over from the one that was hosted in Board Member Craig Head's district, while obviously, like as we heard today from the community, getting more community input. And Doug definitely has some really great ideas that I'm looking to support. And I know he's also in recruitment mode for a partner for his January 4th meeting or community engagement meeting. Last but definitely not least, I wanted to provide you with the update that we are on track with the activities in the implementation timeline for the next 2 months. And so that's really, really good news. There's been a lot of work put into getting to this point, and both the staff and Greg have just been fantastic with the support that's been given. And so I just want to give a big kudos for their support thus far.
And to give a little detail on that, what we're doing is I've reached out to both city council people in my area, Daryl Supernow and Christina Duggan, about who are their leaders in the neighborhoods. And we also are reaching out to the PTA people at the schools in those areas to tell them about what we're going to do on the 27th of January at that Rancho Los Alamitas, to talk about the goals and guardrails and kind of take an assessment of what we're doing and what they think. And by the way, we're trying to find ways to make it sexy, meaning that so that people will want to come. And we're getting good cooperation in the areas, and I think we got a lot of work to do to get a good turnout for that meeting, but the goal of that meeting is to have people talk to us about how the guardrails and goals that we're doing are doing. So that's what we're doing. Any, is this an action item?
No, that's an information item.
I didn't think so, right, so, okay. That's the end of our new business agenda. We are now on to item number 13, reports of board members and announcements, and I would start with with Eric.
Well, first, I just wanted I've already kind of given them the kudos, but I want to give them another kudos in regards to the Cabrillo team showing up today, man. You know, I don't want to toot our horns here, but we showed up with the cheer squad and the principal. You know, I'm always very, very humbled when I see the amount of work and effort that's going on the west side of Long Beach, and so just wanted to make sure that I could send them their flowers for their support to their student board member today, or not student board member, but student representative today. So there's major activity that happens in my district every holiday season. It is a staple in our community, and it is the Daisy Lane Parade. It is on December 13th, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody had their calendars marked, as it's a great opportunity to get out on the west side and have a hot cocoa and see some very nicely decorated cars, but more importantly, an opportunity for us to be out in the community. So if you're available on December 13th, it should be a great time to visit our Wrigley neighborhood, and just a fun day to celebrate the holidays. One thing that I wanted to report out more than just the Daisy Lane Parade was an opportunity that I had just last weekend, and it was the visitation of the Center of Black Student Excellence over the weekend. So there's been a lot of conversation around the center, what the goal is for the center, more importantly, what types of activity are going to be held at the center. Why do we even need a center? I've heard community members ask. And so I had an opportunity to support a workshop hosted by Demo Chicks on last Saturday. Ironically, that was hosted at the center. And as I went there, I saw bridge builders hosting, I'll call them small learning groups for our African American students who needed assistance in mathematics. I saw small cohorts of young ladies who were participating in STEM workshops, who were interested in careers in architecture, construction, and engineering. And I couldn't help but just feel overwhelmed with joy in regards to seeing that space activated, because I think that the vision and the dream that we had for that space in particular, in regards to committing additional resources, getting community partners involved to support demographic in our district that has unfortunately underperformed for generations, it came to fruition, or at least I saw parts of that last Saturday. So once again, as I've showered a bunch of kudos today, I couldn't help but want to also send a big kudos to that entire team for what I saw last weekend, and more importantly, hoping to see for many, many years moving forward, as I look at that center as a catalyst to helping us continue to support our students of color. That's the end of my report.
Dr. Benitez?
Thank you, Mr. Otto. Dr. Baker, I noticed a few of the members of our executive team jotting down notes while some of the members of the public were sharing some questions and concerns around some of the SPED staffing in particular. Could we get an update on just if there's any follow-up and next steps related to that? I'm going to sort of speak to last 3 weeks have been extremely tough for many, many, many members of our community, particularly in relation to the government shutdown and the pause in our SNAP CalFresh benefits. First and foremost, I want to say just express a great deal of gratitude to all the community organizations and community members that have stepped up these last 3 weeks in a horrible environment and time to basically feed our students and community members and families and populations. Big kudos to Supervisor Hahn's office for really, literally, minute by minute, helping to distribute food with food finders. I was at Admiral Kidd Park 2 Saturdays ago, and we had hundreds of family members that at that point had not received their CalFresh benefits. I know that there's something, I'm not sure if it's still going on because of the weather, but being planned at LBCC with Supervisor Hahn and food finders. I know there were conversations with Jordan High School principal on having that be a point of distribution. Although the shutdown is in the same place that it was 3 weeks ago, we still have a lot of families, students in needs. I just had today someone reach out to me and say, how can we provide some meals to LBUSD families over the weekend? So Dr. Baker, can we have an update and or information sharing on what our district's doing, who we're partnering with, sort of what opportunities and resources there are for our community at this point? Because I know that it doesn't affect everyone, but in many ways I've seen from school sites, they're doing their own food drives as well. So given that we have a holiday break right around the corner, and given the horrible suffering that's going on in our communities right now through no fault of anyone other than our federal government deciding that it wasn't going to release much needed to feed people resources, I think it's also important to highlight what our district is doing.
I'll speak to that right at this moment. On our website, and I don't know if the team can pull it up, but there is an active page that the community can find on the A through Z index under SNAP. It has a number of resources, both internal resources, external resources that are available in our community. It's posted in 3 languages, and so thank you for continuing to amplify that. We are doing what we can. Thanks, team. If you can pull up the SNAP page, that's helpful. We will continue to amplify that in the community. It goes out on social media as well as active on the website.
Is it all? Ms. Lopez?
Yes, on Sunday, November 23rd, the Dairy Market by Breezy in North Long Beach is hosting a community turkey giveaway. This event is dedicated to giving back to families who are at the heart of our school district, and is more than anything providing a meal. It's a reminder that every family matters and that each person in the community is valued, seen, and appreciated. In a time when many face challenges, big or small, the Dairy Market would like families to feel supported and uplifted. This event is their way of saying thank you for your resilience, your partnership, and your love, the love that you put into your children every day. They hope this gesture brings warmth to homes and joy to tables as we enter the holiday season. So please, people, mark your calendars and join us. I will be there at the Dairy Market by Breezy event on November 23rd, beginning at 8 a.m. We'll come together in kindness, gratitude, and community. Please know that the owner, Brian Torres, would like to make sure every family knows that they matter and that the Dairy Market stands with them. And then to everyone else, happy Thanksgiving. May your Thanksgiving be filled with warmth, family, and beautiful moments. Thank you.
And very briefly, on the 6th of December is the Belmont Shore Parade. It's a great event every year. Literally thousands of people and organizations come out in Belmont Shore to basically go from Livingston and 2nd Street to the end of Belmont Shore and turn around and come back on the other side of the street. And it's a very come-together event for the community. That's not to take away from the Daisy Lane Parade, which is also a fabulous experience. And they go down one side of Daisy Lane and go up the other one. And it also has a great deal of support, and I'm looking forward to it this year, especially because there's so much going on the west side these days. I want to do a shout out to Mayor Richardson, who seems to be everywhere in this town. And if he's not doing Space Beach here in Long Beach and bringing economic development to the city of Long Beach, he's picking up stuff on the beaches. They picked up 80 pounds of refuge last weekend as a way of showing that Long Beach can take care of its problems and is partnering with others to get all that done. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to the Council of Great City Schools, where I'm a delegate. I wasn't able to go to their conference earlier recently, but I did see in what they showed us as a district the amount of work that they do on our behalf and how they provide information to us and they cooperate with us. And specifically right now, I know that they are developing materials because of the announcement today that the government in Washington, D.C. is seeking to completely eliminate the Board of Education, the Education Department. And if they do that, that would hit us especially hard because of the IDEA kids that we have, the special needs kids. And it's hard enough, as everyone knows, I think, there's a mandate for us to take care of those kids and to make sure that they're educated as well, but we get very little money to do that, and this could be the end of that. And I'm hoping and suggesting that we watch carefully what the Council of Great City Schools is doing in that regard and use their materials and perhaps even think about ourselves, if it's appropriate under the circumstances, to partner with them in pointing out the problems that would cause for us. All of this goes back to the theme that I mentioned a little earlier in the meeting about, I see us in the spirit of cooperation, not competition, but working together. And it's one of the great things about Long Beach Unified. It's one of the great things about Long Beach as a city is that people have a tendency to work together, and we are known for that. There is a California School Board Association conference the first week of December that I will be attending also as a delegate, and I'm looking for. I asked for the agenda for that conference, and we had a little trouble getting it, and I think it might have been because it was so big that it was hard to even list it. It was 38 pages of events that are going to go on between December 3rd and December 5th, preceded by the delegates' meetings on December 1st and 2nd, and there's a lot to be learned and a lot of cooperation that can be gathered then as well. I also would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. It's a great time of year for families and communities to come together and to do the things that we do and celebrate one another. And with that, I would turn it over to our student.
I just wanted to give kudos to Dr. Baker, Mr. Zaid, and Mr. Moskovitz for that amazing and comprehensive report. That was truly amazing, and it made it perfectly palatable to anyone listening, so thank you very much for that. Speaking to what I spoke about earlier, heritage celebrations being a huge part of making students feel involved and included. McBride is actually having our first inaugural, culture fair, where we represent all of our students' cultures. And it's yet to happen, it's happening this Friday, but having heard from a lot of my peers, the impact that it will have on them, the excitement that they have towards it. A lot of my peers were talking to me this morning about how excited they are to try Caribbean food and speaking to their peers about their heritage, sharing with one another. I feel it's made our school way closer and knit us more together. And we are a student body of only about 600 people. So to make us even more closer, it's impeccable. So thank you all so much for the district's continued effort to highlighting our heritage and making sure we feel connected. Thank you.
So now we will turn to our superintendent for her report.
Thank you. I will start with some appreciation for those who have followed the attendance campaign. I am proud and happy to say that we've had actually a slight increase in our attendance, hovering around 93.8 as a district average. Really important for learning. We think about the board goals that we're monitoring. We need students to be in their classrooms. Oh, SNAP benefits are up on the screen. Excellent. That is available on the website under SNAP. Attendance campaign. So many schools are seeing positive results in what they're doing to outreach to families and work with families. Also, just new since the last time I reported out, the attendance tracker is now accessible from each school's website. So if a parent is wondering, how is my school doing and how might I inspire greater attendance, there is a button right on each school's website to get to the attendance tracker. I then want to do a shout out for our student Yumi Lee, who was named as the Link Learning Student of the Year. She's a senior at CAMS. She was an intern at Boeing, Huntington Beach. She has authored 2 books on cybersecurity and advanced Java programming, if you can imagine that, planning to attend MIT in the fall. So congratulations to Yumi Lee. Another Yumi. I want to read off the high school choice nights that are coming up. We have had our high schools filled with adults and students coming to check out what's happening through the site night experience, which continues tomorrow night. So tomorrow night, Jordan High School will host their site night. And then the week after the Thanksgiving break, Tuesday, December 2nd, Sato Academy of Math and Science. Wednesday, December 3rd, Cabrillo High School. Thursday, December 4th, Poly High School. Monday, December 8th, McBride High School. Will you be there? Okay, good. We know you'll be a good host. Tuesday, December 9th, Lakewood High School, and then closing with Wednesday, December 10th, Millikan High School. It's just encourage our families and students, and even those who are not selecting this year, but that want to understand that what happens at high schools if they're a 7th grader and they want to go out with their families, encourage you to get out and experience the site night. Also want to just appreciate the Cabrillo team that was here. Miss Videla Bird was named in our employee spotlights for her good work with the girls who she represented tonight. So just wonderful way of engaging and expanding those teams to hundreds of students that participate with her. And I'll close also with a deep expression of gratitude. Actually, no words to express the gratitude that I feel for each and every person in our district that works to ensure student success and safety and nutrition, and all who are going the extra mile during this really hard time to do what they can as individuals in food drives, in gift card drives for different families. It is really amazing in a season of gratitude to see what we show up to do in the hardest of times. So with that in mind, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Otto, for running the meeting effectively. Appreciate you.
You bet. We're about ready to adjourn, but before we do, I want to say that the next business meeting is on December 10th, and that we all should be ready for that meeting. It's quick time. We have 2 meetings then in December on the 10th and the 17th, and so that's the next one, and the public is invited. So with that, we stand adjourned.